Hello, everyone. I am joined by a cat. She's right here. Ah, what a nice day. It's another nice day. This has been a great summer. And on the plus side, nobody's traveling, so we get to enjoy it. Yay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I really like that new stuff that my brother and sister-in-law gave me. It's good. It's really tasty. Well, yesterday. What was yesterday? Yesterday was Monday. And I managed to be fairly productive. It was a weird day. I haven't complained. I don't think I complained about it yesterday. I'm not enjoying being on antibiotics. I had to go get more because for some reason, even though it was a prescription for a week with a refill, they couldn't give me all 2 weeks at once. I don't know. I don't know how prescriptions work. It's the first time I've ever had one. And so I went to get more and did some other errands while I was out. And they're like, oh, here, we have most of them. You'll have to come back for the rest. I'm like, how's the drugstore not have enough penicillin? It's literally the first drug anybody found. Frank says, the only prescription I think you like is the kind I give you for laughter therapy. Absolutely. I would much rather be put on a heavy, heavy prescription for that. Give me like 40 pills a day. That I'd be fine with. And yeah. So there was that. And then I got home and part of me wanted to go to the gym and part of me absolutely did not. So I decided to go for a walk. I haven't walked to the end of the road in a while, so that was 4 miles. Did that. Got most of the way back, ended up talking to a neighbor for about a half hour. And just enjoyed being outside. And that was that. Okay, cat's climbing up on my lap. I really don't want you to, though. This is the challenge with this summer robe, is that it's really lightweight. And that the cat sits on it and she digs her claws in and there's nothing to stop it. Stacey says pharmacies are having a hard time keeping up with demand. I'm sure. I can imagine that. But it's literally the only drug everybody knows. Like, it's penicillin. It's penicillin. Wasn't it discovered with moldy bread? Like, come on. Do I need to make my own? I'm only being 1% serious. I get it. I'm complaining. That's really all it is. I'm complaining. And I shouldn't complain because there are plenty of people who need prescriptions to stay alive, and I'm not even close to that. But I still don't like it. What else did I do yesterday? Watered some plants. Sent off a proposal to a client. Oh, you know what's today? Today is Whistlekick Live. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, Whistlekick Live. And we have a whole new setup for you. And I will tell those of you watching First Cup what's different. You know what's different? Gabe and I have been working on this. I am not controlling the camera. Gabe is. We've worked it out. He'll have remote access to my computer. Cat, just lay down. And he will be the control room. It's all set up, which means I get to focus on the content. He gets to focus on the production. We get to do our parts. And I think it's going to be great. I really do. So I hope you'll tune in. Hope you'll check that out. Also, tomorrow evening, I've got, this is a one-time thing. We will do a rebroadcast of it. We'll probably put it up on YouTube. We'll probably put it out over the podcast. But I am doing a session with Sensei Craig Wareham about martial arts schools and the possibility of things closing up again. I just saw a post this morning that Florida is pulling back some of their openings. It's going to get dicey again for a lot of areas. Luckily, honestly, probably not here in Vermont. Thank you to everyone else here in Vermont because we've been doing what we've needed to do and we have low population density. And yeah. I saw a map the other day on Facebook that showed some recent trends in, I think it was new cases. And the only state in the union that was above the threshold was Vermont. Everybody else was doing badly. We were doing better. Go us. Yay, Vermont. But I have some concerns. I have some real concerns about what's going to go on for martial arts schools. And I worked with Sensei Craig on the first round, and they saw a 5% drop in membership. That's it, 5%. And so we're going to talk about the things that we did, some of the things that people would consider if they have to go back to online classes. Or I should say not group in-person classes. There's a lot that can be done. And if you are an instructor, if you know an instructor, check this out. I mean, this is the type of stuff that people pay money to learn. And we're doing it for free because it's for the good of the community. And that's what Whistlekick does. We do stuff for the good of the community. All right, I think that's it for the announcements. Still getting a lot of good feedback about last Thursday's episode on the question, is sexism inherent in martial arts? And what I found very interesting is that I spent a lot of time, I thought, unpacking that question really well and framing it not, are there sexist people in the martial arts? Does sexism exist in martial arts? Because the answer is a resounding yes. Of course it does. But the question, is sexism inherent? Is it destined to be part of martial arts? And a lot of people aren't answering that question. They're answering their own versions of the question. They don't seem to get it, that how complex this question is. And I realized why. So, as I said, I went for a walk yesterday. And when you walk for 4 miles, you got some time to think. And I realized something. We're at a place in the world where very few people have the ability to think beyond their own experiences. Their ability to have an idea, to empathize, what's going on in someone else's life is terrible. If it didn't happen in front of me, it didn't happen. If I didn't see it, Pixar, it didn't happen, right? This whole attitude is just utter crap. And people need to get over it. They need to get over the fact that your experience is not everyone's experience. Until we do, we will fix nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't care what issue is important to you. I don't care what situation you're talking about. Without empathy, we're done. Without empathy, you can't imagine where someone else is coming from. You can't compromise. It is the common thread through all of this. Everything that we're facing right now as a society goes back to a loss of empathy. I don't know where it came from, or where it went, rather. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how to fix it. Normally I have some inkling, oh, if we do this, I got nothing. And the irony is, I've got nothing because I'm a pretty empathetic person. I don't know why I have empathy and other people don't. I can't wrap my brain around what it's like for someone to not be empathetic and to be able to consider how someone else feels. The absolutism that we see getting thrown around right now is mind-boggling to me. I posted something on my personal Facebook 2 days ago that said, how did I phrase it? If someone who sees the world in absolutes is doomed to a life of unhappiness. And it's true. I truly believe that. If you can only see the world as a this or that sort of dichotomy, then you're going to be unhappy because the world is not extremes. It is in between. It is not black and white, it is gray. And I think really what we need to do is I think the best first step forward would probably be abolishing media, major media, but we need them at the same time. I don't know. I don't have a solution. So instead I live in the woods and I hang out with animals and I plant and manage trees and I answer questions that you leave. Frank says people don't have the people skills they used to because everyone spends too much time on their phones, I think. You know, and maybe there's something there. When the ability to make friends, even if they're not physical in front of you, when the ability to just pick a new relationship, friendship from the internet exists, maybe we don't spend as much time managing those relationships. The number of posts I see on social media, if you don't agree with this thing that I'm saying, then unfriend me right now. Those people tend to get hidden. Because when people make those statements, it assumes that your way of viewing the situation is the correct or only way. And that's not true. Every difficult and delicate situation you give, I could give you another way to look at it. And one that is not as horrible as people take it. We're in a place where people debate extremes, and it's foolish. I think the lack of social skills is part of it. Though I see quite a few, well, maybe, that's not helping. I'll completely agree with what Frank's saying. It's not helping. We're gonna go to Gabe's here first. Do you think the trend of good guys in movies not following through and killing the quote-unquote bad guys when they have the chance has anything to do with the disapproval of the death penalty? No, but I do think it has to do with a cultural shift. I think that in modern society, again, because things are black and white, we have a hard time seeing that a good person is able to take a life. That the way our society responds to terrible things is, well, actually, maybe, yes. I don't know what the current numbers are on capital punishment, but I know at least a large chunk, maybe not the majority, but a large chunk of Americans do not support the death penalty. So if you look at that view, that even for the most extreme things, people don't believe in the execution of the guilty, then yeah, it makes sense that that's going to come through into a movie. But here's another way to look at that. Quite often in these sorts of movies, it is easier for the hero to just kill the villain. It's safer for them. They generally have the opportunity, and there's something that stops them. Something internal. Now, usually, the hero and the villain have some kind of, quite often they have a past, you know, they knew each other or something. And it's a moment of personal growth that the hero says, hey, I'm not going to do this because I am better than this. I don't need to let my instinct for vengeance or my anger or whatever take over. And is it an extreme example of that? Yeah. But I think if the hero can stay in control of their own emotions, then the rest of us can learn from that lesson. Too many people these days are becoming dismissive with the lives of others because they have no ability for empathy. This is something I'm going to continue to think about because it bothers me. And we got 4 quotes here from Frank. Thank you both to Frank and Gabe, as always. You guys keep me fed. Only through training will a person learn his own weaknesses. He who is aware of his weaknesses will remain master of himself in any situation. Gichin Funakoshi. One of the things I find interesting in a lot of martial arts schools is that the things that the instructor is not good at don't get trained. You see schools where the instructor isn't very good fighter, whatever definition of that we use. So they don't spar. Or the instructor maybe is older and has a hard time getting down on the ground. So there's no groundwork, no defense, grappling, etc. Even though they might know it, or they did know it. We grow most when we improve our weaknesses. If you think about all the things that you know and could work on as a martial artist, if you were to make a prioritized list, top is the things you're the best at, bottom is the things you're the worst at. If you flip that list over, that will give you the most progress as a martial artist. If you're an amazing kicker and you spend all of your time kicking, great. How much time do you have to spend to become an even better kicker? A lot. Diminishing rates of return, right? But if you spend some time, let's say grappling is your hardest, the thing you struggle with the most. How much time do you spend on it now? None? You could spend an hour a week and get a lot better. What's that extra hour a week going to do for your kicking? Probably not much if you're already an amazing kicker. It has to do with where you spend your time. Knowing our weaknesses and understanding them, maybe not accepting them. Accepting usually means you're not going to work on them, but giving some effort to them, I think is pretty important. Not surprising that I agree with Funakoshi. Choose the positive. You have choice. You are master of your attitude. Choose the positive, the constructive. Optimism is a faith that leads to success. Bruce Lee. Optimism is a faith that leads to success. There's a quote, and I think it's often attributed to Will Smith, but I don't believe it's his. He is, if you look at motivation videos on YouTube, and I go through phases where I need those, inevitably they have this segment of him saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. The number one thing I have improved with regard to my attitude as I have grown older is not just in inability to ignore the opinions of others, but the recognition that the more people are telling me I am wrong and I need to stop and all this, the more I realize it's because I'm past them and they're trying to pull me down. It's the bucket of crabs analogy. I am getting out of the bucket and they can all go. Optimism is the faith that leads to success. That's powerful. You have to believe you can. If you don't believe you can, you need to find something you believe you can. Because if you don't believe you can, you're wasting your time. You either need to change your attitude or your actions. Do I believe that Whistlekick will continue to grow and make a permanent change on the world? Undoubtedly. We've already laid the groundwork. It's there. We're doing it. If you think about it like a pyramid, go back to the analogy that I used to describe basics in martial arts. We've laid that foundation. It is not very tall, but it is broad, and we can build really, really tall with what we have. So we are. All the different things that are starting to pop up, this thing's going up. I have no doubt. Optimism is the faith that leads to success. A martial arts practice hall, a dojo, is a place you go to practice being the best you can be. But the true combat in a dojo is not between one person and another, as most people believe it to be. The true combat in a martial arts practice hall is between the people within ourselves. Michael Gerber. Let me say that last part again. The true combat in a martial arts practice hall is between the people within ourselves. Who we are and who we want to be, who we were, who others expect us to be. All these different facets to our personality. The proud you, the scared you. How often does the frightened version of you take over and make decisions for you? It happens to me daily. I work really hard not to let fear control me, but fear is part of life. And I try to understand where that fear is. I try to understand what I can do to address it. I've said this before many times. I'll say it many more times. There are two motivating forces in the universe, love and fear. And it's really simple to know which one you're acting from. And I work really, really hard to come from a place of love in everything that I do. It is not easy. It is simple. It is not easy. When I'm faced with a decision and I don't know what to do, I look for the love. Let's take last night. I was feeling stressed. I was feeling anxious. And the idea of going out to work out stressed me. I felt afraid to go. I felt afraid to not go. So I said, okay, what can I do that's more loving for myself? I could sit on the couch and watch TV, but I'm not going to feel good about that. No, I can go for a walk. I can put on my headphones, and I'm almost done with this 10-book audiobook series that I enjoy. It's my second time through it. And I can go and I can get through another 90 minutes of this book and listen to that. And it's a nice day out, and I did most of the walk without a shirt on, get some vitamin D, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I felt good doing it. And I came home and made dinner. There will always be a battle within each of us because we're growing, hopefully. If there isn't that internal battle, probably means you're not pushing. You're probably not on a path to growth. But I have a hard time believing anybody who'd be watching this isn't on a path to growth. So this is a problem that we will all face for the rest of our lives. There is no time to stop growing. Why? Why would you not want to continue to grow? Not just, for yourself, but for others around you. So learning how to reconcile those different sides of ourselves, it's important. Keep doing it. In training and out of training. We've got one more quote here. Techniques employ 4 qualities that reflect the nature of our world. Depending on the circumstance, you should be hard as a diamond, flexible as a willow, smooth flowing like water, or as empty as space. Morihei Ueshiba, better known as O-sensei from Aikido. There's hard, there's soft, there's fluid, there's empty. Those are important. Those are, yeah. You can, by manipulating those, if you think of them as variables, how hard, how soft, how fluid, and how present a technique is, you can manipulate a lot. You have a lot of control. One of my favorite drills is to take a form, ideally a basic form, like the first one. For me, that's Pinyan Shodan. And make changes to it. Not the movements, but the way I do it. Do it as hard as I can, do it as soft as I can, fast, slow, fluid. Think about these different qualities. Think about how would another person or an animal or an element do those forms. See if you can channel that. It'll teach you a lot about yourself, about the form, about these other things. You can do them by yourself. If you're angry, put your anger into the form. If you're happy, put your happiness into the form. All right, I'm gonna go. Great stuff from Gabe and Frank. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Now, if you like words, I've been good the whole morning. If you like the work that we do here at Whistlekick, including First Cup and Martial Arts Radio and all the other things, please consider supporting us via a purchase at whistlekick.com. Use the code FirstCup15 to save 15%, or the Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. You can support us for as little as $2 a month. That money does help offset the expenses. We are not even close to profitable as a company. I continue to put money in because I believe in what we're doing, and I think we'll get there. So, if you have questions or comments or things you want me to respond to, drop them below, and I will handle them tomorrow, as I always do, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great, great day. Peace.